Okay, so for the last two parts of this problem is where we're actually going to be solving for either the demand or the production. So part B says find the output from each sector that is needed to satisfy the final demand. So they're giving us the demand, so then we know we're going to have to calculate our production. We know we're going to be solving for P. Our demand is 20 billion from agriculture and 10 billion from energy and 30 billion from manufacturing. Okay, so since we are solving for our production, we know we're going to be using that equation, same as example 1. P is equal to parentheses the identity minus C, the whole thing to the inverse, well, inverse of the whole thing, times D. Alright, so we have our consumption matrix already, and you can rewrite it down here if you would like. I'm not going to, but I am going to go ahead and give myself a little note. I'm going to put my consumption matrix in B again. And you might just want to circle it so you know what that means. I'm going to put my identity in A again, and my demand is going to be in C. So that gets a little bit confusing with the different letters. Just make sure you keep track of where each matrix is. So we know what the identity looks like. It's a 3 by 3 identity, so I'm going to just write that out for us just in case. The identity, diagonal of all ones, and everything else is a 0. There's our identity. So we need the demand. It's always going to be a column vector. Alright, so we're going to have 3 values, and it has to keep that same order from our consumption matrix. So we want the demand of A first, so they told us agriculture is 20 billion. You can write out all the zeros, or you can keep it in terms of billions. I'm going to keep it in terms of billions. So I'm just going to say this 20 represents $20 billion. So then next would be energy. We know energy was 10 billion. And then we know 30 billion was for manufacturing. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug all these in my calculator now. And again, you might want to reset, clear out anything that's in there. So matrix A is my identity. I'm going to go over and put that in. It's a 3 by 3, and we have 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. So there's my identity matrix. Check it before you move on. Okay, so then I'm going to go put in my consumption matrix into B, and that is another 3 by 3. I have 0.2, remember it's going to go across, so 0, 0.1, 0.4, 0.2, 0.1, 0, 0.4, 0.3, and enter. Okay, check your values before you go on, make sure you didn't accidentally type anything in wrong. Okay, so there's B. I need one more, I just need C now. And C is that column vector that we made for the demand. So I'm going to have a 3 by 1, so 3 by 1. And if you want in your calculator, you can type out all those zeros. I am not going to. I'm going to leave it in terms of billions. Okay, so there, and check it before you move on. And there, I got my 20, my 10, and my 30. So I'm good. I'm going to go back out to the main screen, and I'm going to plug all of my matrices into this equation. So since we have parentheses, I'm going to start with parentheses. I'm going to use my identity, which is in matrix A slot. So I'm going to grab matrix A, minus my consumption, which is in B. That whole thing is being inverted, so I need my -1 power there. And then whatever that is, I'm going to multiply it by D, which is in matrix C. And hit enter, and it's going to give us a solution here. And this is the production that's required. So we can just say that the production has to be equal to, leave it as a matrix, that's fine, 33, 37, and 64. Okay, so these don't actually represent 33, 37, and 64. These are in billions of dollars. So make sure you keep track of your units here. So if they're asking you how much the energy department is required to produce to meet this $10 billion demand, we could say, okay, over here's our production. They need to produce 37 billion in order to output and fill the demand of 10. So if we look and we're asked how much the company is using of that energy, we know that they're putting out 10, they produce 37, so we know that they are consuming $27 billion worth of energy and only outputting 10 out of the 37 that they produced. And we can go through and talk about that for each one. Just make sure you understand that the demand is what they're putting out to be sold or giving out to the population, and P is what they are producing. So your production should never be less than your demand. Okay, that means that we are not filling the demand and we are lacking in that area.